Welcome back to the Stick 'em Up podcast. Brundi, it is playoff time. The playoffs have not started yet, but they are starting in the next few days. The regular season is tomorrow. The regular season is done and over.
When this episode comes out, it'll be first day of the playoffs. So it's starting up quick.
I don't know why they moved it up 2 days. It seems weird. Instead of the guys getting like 4 days off, some of them get like 2.
Well, but think about it though. Now by moving it up to Saturday, now they can have game 1 for Boston and Toronto on for Hockey Night in Canada, and that'll be the only game on. So they're probably pretty pumped about being able to do that,
I guess. But at the same time, Toronto just got off of a back-to-back in Florida, so a back-to-back with travel, no less. Yeah. So it's
I finished on what, Wednesday?
Yes.
So shit, like they barely even were in Toronto. Maybe they just went straight to Boston. I don't know.
They probably just went straight to Boston.
Yeah, they got to stay there till at least game 2, which I think is Monday. So they extended their trip a little bit, but see what they can do in Boston.
Yeah, that's going to be a good series, and we'll be getting into every series here. We're going to do a breakdown.
There's a lot of good series.
There's very few
really
that
solid.
There's very few that look like they wouldn't be incredibly entertaining. Off the top of my head, you can make an argument for 3, and that's about it. And I would argue there's only like 1.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see.
And that's not even a bad series. That's a less enticing series than the rest of them.
Yeah.
But we are gonna break each one down individually throughout this episode, and then at the very end we're gonna give our predictions and our playoff brackets. We do have a bracket challenge going for those of you who don't know. It's hosted on NHL.com. It's called the NHL Bracket Challenge. Basically, you just fill out an entire playoff bracket, and you try and guess who's going to win the cup. And you guess how many games are going to be played each series in the first round. Yeah, in the first round. Just to add a little extra variance to people's brackets so there's less of the same ones. And you can just enter them in leagues. And some of them have prizes. Some of them are just for bragging rights. But we set one up that will just be for bragging rights. Maybe we'll give you a shout out on our Twitter or something. But if anybody wants to join that, we have one of those set up.
Yeah.
We could probably link that on the Twitter as well. But
I already did.
Oh, he's a genius.
Here's what we'll do. If someone joins and they beat us and they get first place, if they want, we'll contact you and you can join us for an episode.
Oh shit, he's a madman.
Maybe not. Probably not. I'll probably forget about it. So
I thought you were gonna offer like a cameo. Like we'll give him like a
no.
Like a vertically filmed 1 minute shout out. That'd be funny.
Got to do it on like an old like one of the really old iPod Touches.
Find an iPod, yeah. I'm sure I've got someone somewhere.
Use what was it? The other one. It wasn't like the big one. Like the Nano one.
Nano.
There's
no way that had a camera.
They did. Yeah, I think that obviously this is a long time ago, but their latest model for that line ended up having a camera on it.
That's kind of wild. I didn't even know they had a screen to do much on other than just selecting the music.
Well, that's why I think it would be funny if we recorded a cameo on that too. The video quality would be
because it would be horrible.
Just be rank, but yeah, it is on our socials with the link there for anyone who wants to join in on that and battle it out against each other, battle it out against us, and then that way we can see what kind of what you guys think the playoffs might.
Generally, I find them pretty easy to fill out. There's a couple series where I'm like, oh, okay, this is pretty tough, but beyond a couple, maybe 2 or 3 of those in an entire bracket, it's not that difficult for me.
We got to dive in. We got to dive into these then. I want to know what your predictions are.
A lot of people because I feel like it's not too hard for me because I feel like a lot of them I'm like, this team's clearly going to win. And then I look at other people's brackets, and they are all over the place. Like, I know our dad put his in last year, and he had like I think in the first round he had 7 different winners than me in the first round out of the 8 first round matchups, and I was
Yeah.
like, it's literally the opposite bracket. So it's interesting to see people's thoughts.
Yeah.
Do you have a series you want to start with?
Oh man. Oh, pick the first one. All right. I because in my opinion, while I do think this is going to be a fun series to watch, it's probably the one I'm the least excited for, and that's just because I really think there's only one outcome to who wins this series,
Yeah.
and that's the New York Rangers versus the Washington Capitals.
I was really hoping with that build up you'd say them, because I was worried you were going to do our boys in Nashville a little dirty.
Oh no, I
But
think that series it will be. I mean, like I said, they're all gonna be entertaining, but this one I
oh
think
yeah,
is the one where it's like the consensus from everybody kind of is that the President's Trophy winning New York Rangers
yeah.
advance. The regular season matchup between these two teams was they each went 2-2, both 2 regulation wins and 2 regulation losses.
Which is not bad for Washington. I mean, like you said, President's winning trophy winning New York Rangers team, like to split it down the middle with them, that's pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I it's hard to really break it down without just like talking about how many games can Washington steal before the Rangers win.
Yeah, so going through the series, what do you want to do? We'll kind of break them down at the very end. Then after we talk about and discuss it, because maybe we might change each other's minds on stuff. And then at the end,
That's
before
true.
we move on to the next series, we'll say what our final
Mm.
prediction is.
So I've got a couple of stats here. One of them really sticks out to me. An interesting stat here is that the top scorers for each team, Artemi Panarin for the Rangers, 120 points in the regular season. For the Capitals, Dylan Strome with 67.
Yeah, dude, this Capitals team is weird.
He was
It's
only
so weird. They're
7
in the
points
playoffs.
more. He was only 7 points more than half of Panarin's total.
Yeah, and Dylan
Um,
Strome played all 82. I don't know when Panarin played, but Dylan Strome played all 82 games.
Yeah. The Rangers have the better penalty kill, 84.4% for the Rangers, 79% for the Capitals. The Rangers have a better power play, 26.4 to 20.6, so that's relatively close, but a 26% power play is very
That's
strong.
especially against a penalty kill. It's not that's
That's
kind of
below 80%. It's
yeah.
not great. But here's an interesting thing. Goals per game throughout the regular season, only 2.76 for the Rangers. That's not a ton. The Capitals are up at 3.1.
Are you talking about goals for or against?
Oh, that is goals against.
I was gonna say that's
I was kind of I was like looking at all these stats. I was like, it really doesn't add up. But like, I don't know. Maybe they just got a ton of depth scoring or something. That is goals against per game. So the Caps are letting in
that
about
sounds
zero
more
point
right.
0.4 more game, zero point 0.4 goals more per game. Okay, yeah, 3.4 goals per game for the Rangers. That makes a lot more sense.
Yeah,
I was wondering how it was so
way
low.
more right. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. And then the Capitals are
2.64
yeah.
goals per
So
game.
I mean, this is the thing with Washington. It's if they're winning games, they're winning those gritty 1 goal games, and if they lose, like they're getting stomped. That's why they've got a minus. What was it, 41 goal differential or something heading into the playoffs?
Yeah, it's not
Um,
great.
and with this Rangers team, I think it's going to be tough for Washington to actually win those because it's not like Washington's going to go out there and win, 4-1, 5-1, 5-2 or something. Like they're not going to have any statement wins. They're going to have to be winning those close games, and against the Rangers, that's going to be tough for them to win 4 out of 7.
They're really a team you have to outscore. Like Their
Mhm.
offense is damn near undeniable. It's very difficult to stop the Rangers from scoring. They just have such deep uh, forward group. That top nine is so solid. Most of their defensemen at least have some sort of offensive IQ, and especially guys, the likes of Adam Fox. Like
Mhm.
they're such a
Yeah.
good team, and they're going up against the Capitals, who, if you include OT losses in their losses column, they went 40 and 42. They lost.
Yeah.
They lost more games than they won this year.
Yeah. They must lucky for them for the loser points there. Yeah, I mean, in my opinion, I think the biggest kind of X factor for the series is the goaltending. I don't
Absolutely.
I don't think the Rangers got the greatest goaltending last year um against the Devils. And then I mean with Washington, I'm assuming Charlie Lindgren will, you know, be the
Yeah.
starter for them. And again, it's like obviously Washington's not going to be able to go out there and put up, you know, 3 goals every game or 4. Like it's going to be on Lindgren to hopefully, just keep the Rangers from racking it up so Washington can get by with, getting a 3-goal game or maybe even a 2-goal game. Like it's really going to come down to goaltending for I think how this series kind of goes, but
Yeah.
obviously I think it's still leaning in the favor of the Rangers quite a bit.
Yeah, and there is a very interesting dynamic between Charlie Lindgren, the goalie for the Washington Capitals, and the Ryan Lindgren, one of the top 4 defensemen for the Rangers, being brothers. So that's going to be a really interesting dynamic. It's not like the Kachuk brothers, right? Like it's a goalie and a defenseman, so they aren't
Yeah,
probably going to be interacting too much directly throughout the series, but it's
probably not.
Lindgren's not exactly a guy known. Ryan, I guess I have to call him in this case because they're both Lindgren.
Yeah.
Isn't exactly known for getting breaks or his offensive firepower.
Mhm.
So, but yeah,
Yeah, I mean,
it's tough. It's tough for the Capitals. Do we want to go through our prediction for the series as we do each series?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense.
I mean, yeah, you know, it's cool Washington got in, but I think we kind of knew whatever team it it was that made it in was obviously gonna
Yeah.
wasn't gonna be getting past the Rangers. Like this isn't last year where they're going up against a Devils team that is a good team. It just didn't have the goaltending this
Yeah.
year, but
Yeah, regardless of who got in, like the Penguins, the Red Wings, like the Flyers, even if the Devils made their way up into the playoffs somehow, I definitely would have
no
picked
one
the
was getting past
Rangers.
the Rangers.
I would
Yeah.
have picked the Rangers first round against all of them. Um,
I do think
I I
Washington will make
picked
it
I picked
tough
for a
though.
sweep. I picked it for a
Did go with the
sweep.
sweep. You
This is the
did.
only sweep I have in my bracket.
Wow. You did. You went there with it.
The other teams have enough guys that I think they can steal 1, 2, or 3 games, but the Rangers is just such a deep team. There's very few teams that have that level of depth in the league right now,
Mhm.
and I think depth. I think Washington suffers on all fronts. They don't have a ton of depth. They don't have the guys up front to get the job done. Like it's really
Yeah.
the Charlie Lindgren show over there for right now.
Yeah. So I do have the Rangers winning this. Obviously, I do have them winning it in 5 games. I think whether it's Washington's offense explodes for 1 game or Charlie Lindgren steals one, I think Washington is able to steal one out of this. And
Yeah,
like I said, I think they're gonna make it tough for the Rangers. Like obviously the Rangers, I think win,
yeah.
but
I
I
hope
think
it goes at
Washington
least
does
6.
make it a tough kind of gritty series, and the Rangers are gonna have to work hard to win these games. I don't think it's gonna be a quick, easy go for them. They're gonna have to, grind and in those corners and battle in front of the nets to be able to get those opportunities to score. So Rangers, I think, come out ahead in 5, but little banged up after it, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's teams that you think you can beat better in the playoffs, but there's no easy route to a Stanley Cup.
Yeah.
There really isn't. Like, you're gonna get good teams in there. That's why you'd face them in the playoffs. And
Yeah.
I think Washington's one of the easier ones to beat, but I think it's gonna suck beating them.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
So
that's
there we go.
about all I got on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got Rangers in 4. I got Rangers in 5. Sorry, Washington. Made the playoffs at least.
They made the playoffs, which is genuinely very impressive. I would not. I'm pretty sure I had them 7th in the division or something at the start of the year.
Yeah, I didn't have them picked to make the playoffs. I know that for sure. Which series do you want next? I'll let you pick the next one.
Do we want to? Let's do. While we're over here in the East, let's do the rest of the East, and then we'll do the West afterwards. Let's talk about the Carolina Hurricanes versus the New York Islanders.
All right. This is a fun series. To start it off, both teams in their season series went 2-1-1 against each other. So again, pretty split down the even in the regular season between these very different teams.
Yeah, they're very different, but also something about them feels similar. Maybe it's just that how Carolina's had such incredible defense over the past several years, and the Islanders were known for being so strong defensively for a bit there, especially under Barry Trotz. But they faced each other last year in the playoffs. I believe Carolina won 4-2.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure Sorokin absolutely stole one of those games as well. Like,
I think he was pretty bad though last year in the playoffs. Sorokin did not have a good playoffs last year.
Yeah. And the playoffs are an entirely different beast for a goalie. Like, it's so tough. Guys, there's a lot. It feels like whenever it's in the playoffs, there's so much more traffic in front of the net. There's so much more crap going on around you where you get the weird bounces, a lot less clean goals. So it's tough, and I have the Carolina Hurricanes winning this series. I have them winning in 5 games, 4-1.
We have them in 5.
I was very close to putting it 4-2 and having it in 6 games, but I just think about how good Carolina already was, and then they added a Jake Gensel who's has scored at like
well over a point per game.
It's like 120 point pace over a full season since they got him at the deadline. Like, they were really good, and then they added their best player to the lineup, which is mind blowing. So I still think the Islanders steal one. I think they got enough guys, Barzell, Dobson, Palmieri has scored a weirdly massive amount of goals in the past month. And then both their goalies, Varlamov and Sorokin, either of them can be really good in the playoffs. So I think they steal one, but Carolina has a really good, like an insanely good top 6 forward group, and then their top 8 defensemen. The bottom 2 of those 8 aren't even going to be playing, but their top 8 defensemen are great. They have so many defensemen, like they can withstand injuries. Like they have a team built for the playoffs, and their only weak point I think could be the goaltending, but I don't know. I've got faith that they're going to pick it up. I don't even know who they'd start in net, to be honest.
I think Freddie Anderson probably. I don't think it's been confirmed, but I think that's where they're going to go.
And it makes sense. He's been good for them when healthy.
Yeah.
Like, they've had multiple very good goaltenders recently. It's just they need to stay healthy is the main thing.
Yeah. Also worth noting that the Carolina Hurricanes finished the season with 111 11 points. Islanders with 94. So that's 17 points separating the two in the standings. Yeah, like you said, Carolina's been a consistently good team for the last five-ish years or so, and they were the one team that you're always wondering, what big move are they finally going to make? Whether it's at the draft or the trade deadline or whatever, and they consistently just kind of stayed with what they had and just kept letting this team build.
They always got the bridesmaid of free agency. They would never get the Tarasenko that they're looking for. They never get the guy that they wanted, and they finally pulled the trigger on Gensel, and it looks massive for them.
It's paid off huge for them.
So Antti Ranta this year has been rough. 24 games played, an .872 save percentage.
I think he's in the AHL now.
Exactly, because Pyotr Kochetkov, 42 games played, a .911 save percentage in 42 games. That is really good this year. That's
he was good.
I'm pretty sure that's like
top
top
10 big time for them.
That's like top 10 of the league with like more than 30 games played.
Yeah, and he stepped up huge for them.
Yeah, and so less games played, but Freddie Anderson in 16 games, .932 save percentage. That's massive.
Yeah. Dude, they play a good defensive system.
They play a great defensive system. They have great talent on that blue line. And now it looks like they're getting more scoring than ever.
Yeah. Like the offense can still put the puck in the net.
They were one of those teams where they would kind of dry up offensively at the worst times.
Yeah.
But they're looking real strong now. They're looking real strong, and I think they've got enough guys in there that it's not going to dry up, and they're going to be able to keep scoring, and they're going to be able to keep it out of the net. I really like this Carolina team.
Yeah, so I do have the Hurricanes. I have them in 6.
Yeah, I almost went
again just because I do think it is possible that the Islanders can easily steal 2 in this. But like we said, this Carolina team is just so it's such a deep team
most of the time.
It goes all the way from the forwards to the defense, and then you've even got 2 great goalies who are playing really good hockey right now. So if one happens to go down with an injury,
which has been an issue for them,
very great backup that can easily come in and hold his own for you.
Yeah. Having the confidence of knowing there's 2 guys there, I'm sure has to do well for your team as well. They're not sitting there worried. Oh, if Demko goes down, are we kind of screwed? Like, they're not sitting there thinking we have our meal ticket goalie and that's it. So
yeah, and with the Islanders, I mean, again, they're one of those teams that they're kind of in the middle. Some people thought they were going to make it. Some thought they were just going to miss out. It's not like the Islanders are a bad team. They do have good pieces in place.
Mm-hmm.
They've obviously got some very strong goal scorers up front. One of the better young offensive defense in the league in Noah Dobson, and some really good defensive defensemen, and then they've also got a great 1-2 punch with the goalies. I really think the X factor is, again, just how deep this Carolina team is, and how they're so built for speed. I do worry about with the Islanders' depth, which is kind of more for hitting rather than speed. So I'm worried that those matchups might not be very favorable for the Islanders, and their depth could get exposed pretty bad.
I think I almost worry in that regard more for Carolina. Not to win this series. I think they will win it, but I think Matt Martin, Cal Clutterbuck, I think these guys are going to beat the crap out of some of these young, fast guys on Carolina.
And it's not to say that like in a dirty way, because those are actually
no.
The more very clean kind of aggressors in the league.
They're just going to bang crash for multiple games in a row, only 2 days apart from each game, and it's just going to wear on that team. And
especially because
I
I think this might be the last season we see for both Martin and Clutterbuck with the Islanders. So it could just be the team moves on, or these guys could maybe rather than going to free agency, they might just call it a career and be content where they're at. So, I think they're going to come out like wrecking balls every shift. Again, that doesn't mean the Islanders are going to win this series. It just means that maybe when the Rangers and Carolina meet up, both teams might be pretty bruised up.
Yeah. I think the Islanders will get their pound of flesh out of the series, but I don't see a way they beat this Carolina team. It's just such a strong Carolina team. Like,
here's the thing.
I would take the Islanders over the Capitals. I think the Islanders are a very good team, but that's just a really rough matchup for them.
I do think the Islanders could win this series. The only way is they have to keep it, like they have to stay out of the box.
Yeah.
Because Carolina's got the second best power play in the league, and they've also got the number one penalty kill in the league. So, the Islanders' penalty kill is 32nd in the league.
That's dead
so
last.
The Islanders, if they're in the box, Carolina's going to be scoring on the power play. Yeah,
that's worse than Chicago.
Yeah, bro, thanks for bringing that up.
Well, they're worse than those teams.
They are. It's 71.8%.
Bro, who do they have playing on this penalty kill who's just ass?
Their penalty kill was so good under Barry Trotz, and the system that Lane Lambert was using was horrendous. Patrick Roy's fixed it up a little bit, but by then, the damage was already done. They might have been down to 65% with Lane Lambert there.
Wow.
It was bad. So, I mean, that's kind of the biggest X factor for the Islanders is stay out of the box.
Yeah.
And if you get I really like actually what Patrick Roy did the other day. I was watching one of their games because it was one of those kind of playoff battles, and the Islanders' power play was awful, just horrendous. And Patrick Roy decided when I think it was they finally their fourth or fifth power play, he just sent out just his regular second line and his regular, whatever defensive pairing, and said, just don't overthink it. Don't go sit up. Just go play like it's 5-on-5. And I'm pretty sure the Islanders, I don't think they scored, but they had way more opportunities doing that. So I'm curious to see if maybe
I'm almost surprised more teams don't try that. That's if you've got a decent second line, second or third line, after if you roll the your first power play unit and they don't score in the first minute, you swap the lines up. You just put your second line out and say, go play, and they're a man down. Have fun and see what you get out of it. I could definitely see that. You imagine all these guys just in there forechecking like crazy, and there's not enough defensemen to deal with it. I could absolutely see it working. So.
Yeah, but at the end, I do think Carolina does come out on top in 6 here.
Yeah, and I have them in 5.
Next matchup. You ready for this one? I am. We got Boston, the Bees, the Bruins, taking on the Toronto Maple Leafs, and not 70 goals scorer Austin Matthews.
69 goals, 107 points. Still a pretty damn good season.
Still a very good season, yeah.
You think he gets top 3 for the Selke?
That's an interesting one. I'm not entirely sure because I would need to kind of look more in depth at some of the.
Yeah, it's hard to just guess when you haven't watched. We're not watching a ton of Panthers games or Kings games to know. Should it be Barkov? Should it be Matthews? Should it be Kopitar? So you got to look at some more analytics. But
the Boston Bruins finished the season with 109 points, and the Toronto Maple Leafs finished the season with 102 points. Obviously, Boston second in the Atlantic, Toronto third, so Boston will have home ice advantage. And in their regular season series, Boston went 4-0, and Toronto went 0-2-2 through their 4 games this season. So Boston's coming in little.
Like Boston's got their number.
Yeah. And are we surprised? No, because again, this Boston team shouldn't be this good, losing their 1 and 2 centers for absolutely nothing. And here they are in a very tough Atlantic division as well, and getting second place, putting up over 100 points once again. It's Toronto's no slouch, though. Toronto's no slouch.
Yeah,
I think they averaged the second most goals for per game this season.
That would make sense. They're sitting at 3.63 goals per game. That's a ton of goals. That's closer to 4 than 3. Like that's a lot of goals. Yeah. The Bruins, who again had an incredible year, only 3.21 goals per game. So slightly more than 0.4 goals per game more on the side of the Leafs. The Leafs also letting in a lot more goals, 2.7 for the Bruins and 3.18 for the Leafs. The penalty kill is 77% for the Leafs and 82% for the Bruins. And the power plays are pretty close, 22.2% for the Bruins and a 24% slightly favoring the Leafs.
Yeah, this is a fun series because again, it's the Boston and Toronto going up against in the playoffs. It's one of the more iconic matchups in recent years, and we know what this is about. We know that this is going to be again a very rough and tough series because these teams don't like each other. A lot of these players don't like each other. It's one of those rivalries we still have in the league that's really built on hatred. Like it's going to be a rough one for both teams, and I don't think any win in this series is going to come easy. Both teams are going to have to they're going to have to grind to get these wins because neither of these teams are a pushover, and if you're not,
there are going to be very
take a shift
few
off.
people.
They're going to capitalize.
Yeah, there's going to be very few times you see guys coasting around out there. And if you do, they're not going to be in the next game. I can guarantee it. Like,
it's going to be high intensity.
It is going to be a dogfight. And it might come down to who's got the better top-end talent. 2 of the best goal scorers in the game right now, David Pastrnak and Austin Matthews. 110 points for Pastrnak and 107 for Matthews. Austin Matthews, obviously, with his 69 goals. I think Pastrnak did he hit 50? Was he at 49? I think he was close.
47.
47 goals. So his goal scoring, his pure goal scoring has taken a slight step back this year, but he's up to 110 points. So he's still producing at an insane level.
Yeah. I mean, it's a big thing is for Toronto is the goaltending for them.
Yeah.
That really might make or break it for them.
Absolutely. I mean, Boston has one of the notoriously best tandems in the league, over the past 3 years. Like, if their starter goes down, if their starter goes down, they have last year's Vezina winner to back them up. Yeah. What more do you have to say about it? Their goaltending is so good, and the Leafs, the guy, it looks like Sorokin's gonna, or not Sorokin, not Shesterkin either. Samsonov,
there we go,
is gonna be the starter going in here, and he back in November, not only was he in the minors, but he was unusable. He was so bad. And it's nice that he's come back and he's been really good. He's been so solid since around Valentine's Day. And hopefully he can keep it up because Joseph Wool started putting some not so great numbers up.
Yeah. I mean, it really comes down to what can Samsonov do, and well, like we said earlier, playoffs are a totally different thing, and we really haven't gotten an opportunity to see Samsonov really try to prove himself and really establish, himself as is he a one of those playoff beasts, or is he a pushover in the playoffs? And I think for Toronto, I mean, like I said, the goal scoring is going to be there for Toronto. Even though Boston's are really they're really good defensively, their goaltending solid. I think Toronto's still going to be able to put up some goals on them. But it's again, is it how many are you going to have to put up to win games? How many is Samsonov letting by each game? Is he putting on a show and giving you guys a chance to win? It's I think he can do it. But it is a tough. It's going to be tough.
It felt like last year he stole a couple games over Tampa, damn near by himself. Like there was a couple times where it was straight up he was killing it out there. So he definitely has the goods. We'll see if he brings it this year. But yeah, what are your thoughts? What is your prediction for this one?
So this is pretty out there. I don't think many people have this. I have Boston in 7.
Yeah, Boston 7.
I have Boston in 7. The classic one there. I think this is one of those series. I think it goes 7. Like, I feel like with these teams, it has to. And I think Boston is able to. Boston's just got that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's nice. You can't really say, that leadership, those veterans, because they're all gone. It's kind of just Marchand. But like, this is a team that, has lots of playoff experience. They know how to get it done in those games. And again, I think it's just tough for Toronto. They come up just short once again. And a large part of it is, I think, going to be on Toronto's defense. I think their defense is going to get very worn down throughout this series. And their defense isn't coming in the healthiest either.
That's true.
Which it's going to make it just very tough for them. And
yeah,
I think because of that, Toronto's just not going to be able to outscore those problems.
Yep. And I completely agree that it's going to go 7 games. I can't imagine a scenario where it's going into a game 6. I just can't imagine an elimination game before game 7 where either team lets the other one win before it gets to 3-3. I just can't imagine it.
Yeah.
So that is why I have the Toronto Maple Leafs winning in TD Garden for game 7.
Wow. All right. So we got our first split here on a matchup. And this is one of those matchups that is really kind of those, pick'ems. It's a 50-50. There's no right or really the only wrong answer is it doesn't go 7 games.
Yeah.
Like the consensus should be 7 games, and then it's okay, but who's going to win game 7?
Yeah. And I think the Leafs get it done. I think they're probably going to drop some games early. I think Matthews is going to be a little bit distracted. I think he's still going to be a little upset he didn't hit 70. But I think he's going to get over it when he has to. The team is going to come back. If Morgan Rielly plays half as good as he did against the Bolts last year, he is going to be a killer for them against Boston. That dude looked like a Conn Smythe player out there. He was freaking nuts.
He was really good last year.
He had 3 or 4 goals as a defenseman. Dude is a beast.
He might have had 5.
Yeah,
honestly, he was just scoring every game.
And I think Toronto just has enough top end talent to break through that Boston defense. Their top 6 is so good. Okay, good, we stopped the first line from scoring. Oh, great, now we got to deal with Marner and Tavares. They just have a lot of really solid dudes, and I think it'll be just enough to beat out Boston, and hopefully they can exercise some of their demons, winning a game 7 in TD Garden.
Yeah, and that would be that would, even if Toronto went out second round, that'd be huge for them if they were able to take down Boston in the first round. That would be just huge for everybody.
Let me
from
know
the players to the fans to the organization. That would be a huge step forward for them.
Yeah. Let me know if you know the answer to this, but what year do you think it was the last time that the Leafs beat the Bruins in a playoff series?
2002.
Earlier.
Oh, geez. 90,
Earlier.
93. Oh, geez. 84.
Earlier.
67.
Earlier.
Holy shit.
1959.
Wow.
They were 10 years away from the moon landing. The last time they they won against the Bruins in the playoffs so long ago. They have won 4 cups since.
Wow. That's
beating the Bruins would be massive for that.
That would be massive. And I mean, if there's ever time to do it, I think this is the year that they can.
Yeah.
This is the year that they should. Realistically, like, even though I still have Boston picked, this is the year that Toronto should.
Boston's looking weaker than they have in a bit. Toronto's looking better. Maybe not always on the ice, but they're looking at their roster. They should be better. And as of late, I think they have looked a bit better. I think they've got enough stuff. I think, bringing in those guys, Domi, Bertuzzi, I think it's just enough that it'll put them over the edge.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it definitely could be, and I'm very excited to see.
It's going to be a fun
how this one goes. Yeah, because it's one of those ones that really could go either way.
I'm hoping that those games are always on at a different time than the Tampa games, because I want to watch those for sure.
Yeah, it's going to be a must-watch series.
Always is with them.
And I guess that means with our last series in the East, we got the Florida Panthers and the Tampa Bay Lightning. What are your thoughts on this one? I'm just pulling up the regular season head-to-head matchup here.
When I think of playing this series, I've notoriously been saying for the past few months, I kind of hope Tampa gets Florida. And then in the last final games of the season, it looked like an actual possibility, and I was thinking, oh fuck, I really hope we get Boston. Especially with how well we played against Boston this year. But I think back, obviously it was a different team, but Tampa held them to 3 goals the last time they played each other in the playoffs. The entire series. 3 goals in 4-game sweep. Tampa held them off. At the same token, I believe it was either the last or second last time we played the Florida Panthers. I think they beat us 9-4, or sorry, 9-2. I think it was. Absolutely shelled us. So like, it's hard to say. The top guys on Tampa, and I don't watch enough other Florida games to know if their guys are doing the same, but the top guys in Tampa, Kucherov, Hedman, Point, Stamkos, they play pissed off every time they're against the Panthers. Like Kucherov looks so fucking mad every time he has to play these guys. He just loves to beat them, and I'm hoping that's enough. But damn, does this Florida team look scary?
This Florida team is very good.
They have
one
a
of the
lot
better
of
teams
depth.
they've ever put out.
A lot of forward depth. Their defense is not, I would say, a little bit worse than it was in the past, but like that's comparing it to a great defensive lineup when they had Mackenzie Weegar in there.
Yeah. And their goaltending's, has been very good for them.
Bobrovsky's probably going to get a Vezina nomination. Like,
I don't know. He might.
He's at least. I think he's going to get some. I think he's going to get some votes.
He'll get some votes. Yeah.
I think he at least finishes top 5 in voting. I think he might squeeze into that third spot with Demko and Hellebuck. I don't see them putting Joey Decord in there.
No,
even if his stats maybe back it up a little bit.
And obviously Florida finished first in the Atlantic with 110 points. Tampa Bay finishing in the first wildcard spot, 98 points. So only 12 points separating these two. The regular season head-to-head matchup, this seems weird, but this is what everything's saying. Florida went 2-1, and Tampa Bay obviously went 1-2. 2 regulation losses. I thought they would have played 4 times, being in the same division, but everything's saying that they only played 3 times. So I'm not too sure with that.
I'm actually not too sure. That is insanely weird that they wouldn't have, but yeah, I don't know.
Well, yeah, actually, that's it.
They just only play each other 3 times. Huh. I think a massive part of this is how it is refereed and what happens on the special teams. Tampa Bay has the best penalty or the best power play in the league, a 28.6% power play. Absolutely nuts. Panthers is still pretty good at a 23.5%. And then the penalty kills are very close, 82.4 for Florida and an 83.3 for Tampa. So I think the way that it is called and penalties are given out could very well decide this this matchup, because the power play, like, rather often Tampa lives and dies on that power play. They are so good.
Yeah.
And those top guys just have to be able to put the puck in the back of the net. And yeah, looking at the stats here, like, it's almost similar to Toronto versus Boston. Tampa has about 0.3 more goals per game, but Tampa lets in, looks like, about 0.8 more goals per game. So
yeah, it really comes. It's kind of an offensive versus defensive battle, which could be the decider. Tampa's, elite offense versus Florida's great defensive play that they've had all year, along with their goaltending, is kind of the battle there. It's gonna come down to.
And that's kind of reflected in the leading scorers too. Kucherov, obviously, with his 144-point season, 50 more points than Sam Reinhart, who's the leading scorer for the Panthers at 94.
Yeah.
That said, Sam Reinhart, I believe he had, what do you have, like 57 goals?
Yeah.
Like, he was closing in on 60. It was close.
Yeah, this is going to be a very fun season. Again, this is one of those rivalries that, is one of those ones that always kind of got talked about as a rivalry, but it didn't feel like one because Florida sucked and Tampa was good. So it was like, well, how can you have a rivalry when it's just the better team always just beating the shit out of the crappy team? And now that, both teams are at the top of their games, are pretty much there. It's making it really exciting.
It's really heated up, and especially 2 years in a row, we got them in the playoffs, and obviously we won both of those, so it kind of felt like before, but they are clearly a better team than when they when they would play each other in 2013. Like the Panthers were like, they were close to the top of people's lists for like relocation teams. Like, they were not doing well for a while, so they're in a lot better spot now, and I think a lot of Toronto fans are happy that they're not playing the Panthers right now.
Yeah, I think they are. I guess and it's their consolation prize now going up against a team that you haven't beaten in the playoffs in
their boogeyman
50s. So, like, this is going to be a really good series. It's going to be, again, it's going to be more of a rough physical one. I think that a lot of that is going to start from Florida's side of it when when you've got guys like Tkachuk and Sam Bennett, Nick Cousins, who likes to maybe not be physical, but likes to
Ryan
stir the pot. Ryan Lomberg as well.
I feel a lot of guys from other teams that don't play Florida a lot don't know the name Ryan Lomberg because he's a fourth liner. He only needs to play 5 minutes a night for you to know who the fuck he is. That dude sucks to play against. And
he's going to be causing some chaos as well.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of those guys, a lot of Tanner Jeannot, Eric Chernak. It's going to be a lot of them throwing their weight around, and hopefully nobody's getting injured in the first round. But it's going to be a rough series, and I'm I am thinking it is going to Game 7. I think because it's gone to the last 2 times they met. I believe it went to Game 6, and Tampa won, and then the other time it was a sweep for Tampa.
Yeah.
Actually, I think it was 5 games and then a sweep for Tampa. But this time I'm predicting it goes to 7, and I am taking the Tampa Bay Lightning. I think Vasilevsky is going to come into form and be that X factor that he can be in the playoffs, and I think it's going to be enough for Tampa.
Okay, so I do also have it going 7 games, but I do have the Florida Panthers
they're first in the Atlantic
on top.
It's hard to bet against their team that they've put together.
Yeah. And I think a big thing for Florida is, was Tkachuk's playoff run last year, is that kind of a fluke, or is he, going to be one of those consistent, studs in the playoffs that drives, the bus for that team? And it really could be as simple for Florida, come down to that. Can Tkachuk carry them to the next round, or is he kind of go invisible? And maybe, well, not invisible, but just he's not getting the points that he should be for them. And Florida comes up just short. It's because, Sam Reinhart, if you want Sam Reinhart to be scoring goals, you need Tkachuk to be, dialed in and doing what he does. And so, I think it's as simple as that. And I've made it known that I've become a big Matthew Tkachuk fan, especially just from the playoffs last year and what he did. And I think he will be able to keep that going into this year. But it's like you said, Vasilevsky could very well easily be the needle mover for Tampa in winning this one.
Yeah, it's man, one of the most fun things about sports is watching playoffs and just watching those guys that are great, that just transcend and become unbeatable in the playoffs. Yeah. It's just when the chips are down, when everything matters, these guys fucking rule. And it is so fun to watch. And we're going to see that. We're going to see, 2 of the most talented like rats in the game in Kucherov and Tkachuk.
They're gonna Cousins.
Go. Well, that's why I said talented.
Oh, okay. No, yeah, good point.
And they're good point. And I think a lot of teams around the league are gonna hope this goes 7, because they want to see them beat each other up as much as possible. But
speaking of rats, the Vegas Golden Knights are in the playoffs, going up against the Central winning Dallas Stars, who are the number 1 seed in the West. So they will have home ice advantage in the playoffs for as long as they're in, unless they meet the New York Rangers in the Cup final. This is a wild series to be getting in the first round.
This has conference final written all over it.
Well, and this was a conference final last year.
Oh, well, there you go.
Vegas did take the season series 3-0. Dallas went 0-1-2, so they did have 2 losses that went beyond regulation. Again, it's the defending Stanley Cup champ that all that these guys that they've been missing for the last little bit are going to be healthy and ready to go come game 1. But this is also a very deep Dallas team. The depth that this team has right now is it's just absurd.
I'm so shocked right now. I'm looking at the leading scores for both teams, and they are both a lot lower than I would have thought. Obviously not bad numbers, but Jason Robertson with only 80 points. I definitely figured he was at least going to hit 90, maybe get close to that 100-point margin. But
also look at Dallas. They got 9 players over 50 points.
Yeah, they do it. They have great depth scoring, but
they've got 1, 2, 3,
Jason
4,
Robertson's
5,
top
6,
capable
7.
of that.
They've got 8. They've got 8 players with 20+ goals. 2 of them hitting 30 or more, and then Robertson was just short at 29. That's the thing with this Dallas team, though, is they've got guys up front like Robertson who can put up 100 points. But they're just such a deep team. Everybody's getting ice time because everybody's contributing from the first line down to the fourth line to even the extra players that are, normally healthy scratches that get in the lineup every now and then. They're even producing wherever you put them into the lineup. And then their defense that was already really solid. You bring in arguably the best defensive defenseman in the league in Chris Tanev, a guy that's will literally put his face in front of a clapper just to do whatever it takes to win.
Yeah.
And then the goaltending, Jake Ottinger, one of the better young goalies in the league, where we've seen he almost single-handedly stole a playoff series a couple years ago against Calgary Flames. So
yeah, he was
like this Dallas team is just
unbeatable. Like
this Dallas team is just scary. But again, you're going up against the defending Cup champs who relatively have the same roster, only
a better
it's just
roster,
a little bit better. Yeah, it's like pretty much all the same guys, except now you have Hurdle, Hannafin, and Mantha in there, which makes your defensive depth, your center depth, and your
just that much more deep.
Your winger depth, like it just makes This is a really it's going to be a hell of a matchup between these two teams, and it's crazy that one of them will be out in round one because, like you said, this should be like a Western Conference final again.
Yeah, Jonathan Marchessault, the leading scorer for the Vegas Golden Knights, 69 points. Nice. As many goals as Matthews had on the season. But yeah, that's relatively low, and I know because it's Vegas, right? So Eichel had a bit of time out with injury. Mark Stone never plays all his games. And
the thing is,
even Shea Theodore
where Jack Eichel is, though. Like, I think we kind of know what Jack Eichel now. He's not a 100-point guy, really. Like, he's kind of a
I think he is
80 to 90 guy with this Vegas team.
I think he could definitely get to 100 points. I think he needs to put together the full healthy year. His line mates need to be healthy. I think he could definitely get to 100 points. I think a decent amount of it is goals too. I think he's not one of those guys who's a pure playmaker either. I think he has good finish. He plays a relatively hard game. But that's a tough hill to climb. This Dallas Stars team is really, really good.
It's
82% penalty kill compared to Vegas's 79%, 24% for the Stars, 20% for the Golden Knights. Relatively low power play coming from the Knights there. And then the Golden Knights have 0.1 more goals against per game. Dallas has 0.3 more goals per game. So Dallas beats them in every one of those categories.
Yeah. Well, and I even said back at the trade deadline, I think a lot of people, because Dallas was still I think they actually might have been like first in the league at the time around the trade deadline, or right up there. And really the only move they made was trading for Chris Tanev. But I also said that I think the Dallas Stars made one of the best moves at the trade deadline, and it didn't even come at the cost of moving out anything. And it was as simple as bringing up Logan Stankoven from the AHL, who has looked fantastic for them so far and has really solidified himself in the lineup. My only issue with him is he's only 21 years old right now, but he is currently listed right now. Again, this could have changed a little bit. I don't know from exactly when this was recorded. But he is listed at 5'8", 175 pounds.
Yeah.
So, and Vegas is a big team. So I'm curious to see how a guy like Stankoven does. I mean, he is only 21. So if he doesn't do great, it's not to say he's not a playoff guy. Like, there's time to grow. Or he could go out there potentially and, keep doing what he's been doing and be a huge, because like having him on the third line doing what he's doing again is nuts. If he played the full season, he's probably a 20 goal, 60-point guy's a rookie.
Yeah, he's knocking on the Calder door if he was playing the whole season. Like he
probably, yeah. I think
looks,
he would make a very solid case.
He's great. And they have so much talent on that roster. Miro Heiskanen, Jason Robertson, Joe Pavelski, really looking to get
himself a ring here.
Get himself a ring. Like, yeah, him and Brent
Even
Burns
Matt Duchene.
both been looking for him, and they're both on great looking teams this year to do it.
Yeah. Matt Duchene even has been a fantastic addition for Dallas after getting bought out from Nashville. Wyatt Johnston
bought out by another playoff team.
Yeah, Wyatt Johnston, he hit 32 goals this year, 33 points. Like I think he's only 20 years old, and he's doing this. 20. Yeah, so I mean, like, and then like we said, Ottinger. It's such a deep Dallas team, but again, like you're going up against the defending Cup champs. They're not going to be pushovers. They've got that experience. They've also got that depth. Despite how Vegas looked in the later half of the year, you got to look at who was missing, who was out of the lineup. They're assuming they're all going to be back for game one, so that does make Vegas better. But I'm interested with Adin Hill with Vegas. Obviously, he was great in the playoffs last year for them. A lot of people thought he actually should have maybe got the Conn Smythe, but
yeah, I think he came second in voting.
To each their own with that, but I'm interested to see if he can do that again this year, or was it one of those, I don't want to say Braden Holtby things, but also kind of Braden Holtby things where he was just nuclear for the Caps. In their run to the Cup when they beat Vegas that year, and then 2 or 3 years later, Braden Holtby was kind of out of the league basically, which was kind of weird. That's still one of those weird mysteries to me. But that's kind of where I feel like with Adin Hill, can you prove that you can, do it back to back, or is last year kind of just everything was going right, all at the right time type of thing?
Yeah, and I'm honestly not too worried for Adin Hill
here with Dallas.
I think he is the real deal. I don't think he's an elite goalie, but I think he is a very, very solid starter.
That's where I'm at.
He might not win. He's not going to steal the series for you, but he is going to give you a good, solid chance to win.
Yeah.
And I think Vegas is really going to try. I think it's going to go to Game 7, but I do think Dallas is going to win. I think they are too deep of a team. I
also have Dallas in 7.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't pick Vegas anyways, even if
I would have picked Vegas against most other teams in the West.
But this Dallas team is scary.
This Dallas team is
a scary team. Yeah. This is probably. It's not going to be the series to watch in the West, but I am saying it's second. But there's another series in the West that I'm more excited for that we'll get to.
Fair enough. And I got to imagine you want to talk about that one next then?
It's up to you. This is your pick. This is your pick to pick the next matchup.
I'm assuming this is the one you're talking about. We are talking about the Winnipeg Jets versus the Colorado Avalanche.
This actually might be this. I think this is the series I'm most excited for in the first round. Over Boston, Toronto, even.
I think Boston, Toronto, Tampa, Florida, and Winnipeg, Colorado are the 3 big money matches.
Yeah, this was my number one.
And Vegas, Dallas. That's up there for sure.
Yeah. Winnipeg finishing the season with 110 points to Colorado's 107. That also comes along with Winnipeg winning the season series 3-0. All wins in regulation. The most recent one being that just shit kicking they gave the Avs.
Dumpstered them.
It was fun. They were like dumbing the Avs as the news came out that like Dallas had clinched, and so Colorado and Winnipeg would be facing each other.
Yeah,
as that shit kicking's going on. So it's a little early preview. Is worth noting. Winnipeg has the highest goals for per game in the league, and Winnipeg has the lowest goals against per league. So it's kind of like the top scoring offense versus the nobody's scoring on us defense.
The Avs have the highest goals for, and the Jets have the lowest against.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be a really solid matchup. I'm surprised with how insanely good the Jets are, how bad their special teams are looking right here. 77% penalty kill, 18.7% power play. Those are both very mediocre. Like bordering on bad.
Yeah, dude, they're a 5-on-5 team. They win
is scary
so
in
many
the playoffs.
matchups like that. Yeah.
And on the other side, we have 79.9% penalty kill for the Avs, and they're sporting a 24.4 penalty kill or power play. Sorry. The leading scorers on either team being Mark Scheifele with the Jets with 72 points, and Nathan MacKinnon, of course, with the Avs at 138 points. I don't believe that's updated. He hit 140, right? I'm pretty sure MacKinnon ended with 140 points. It's all offense versus defense in this one.
Yeah.
Both team, they're insanely
pumped for the whiteout.
They're insanely front loaded in Colorado. Yeah. They don't quite have the depth of some of these other teams, but like Rantanen, McKinnon, Makar, Taves,
and what a treat for who they get to go up against. What a treat they get.
Yeah.
William M. Jennings winner and probably the Vezina winning goaltender this season, and Connor Hellebuck.
Like we can just call him the Vezina winner. Like,
yeah, I think he's.
If I will call him a Vezina winner, even if he doesn't win this year. Like it would be a crime if he didn't.
Mm-hmm.
And
this, man. I mean,
the eye test, the stats, they all point to it being offense versus defense. And I tell you what, when a team has this bad of special teams, we've seen it before. They lock it down in the playoffs, and they just say, "Fuck you, we're gonna play squeaky clean, and you can hit us, and we'll take it on the chin, and we'll take our wins." Who was it last year? Was it Vegas? Vegas solving Edmonton. Edmonton's power play was operating at like 50% or 40% in the playoffs.
Yeah, Vegas shut it down.
And then Vegas didn't even have to shut down their power play because they just said, "No, thank you. We will not take penalties." And doesn't matter if you're running at 100% power play if you get no penalties. So I think if the Jets are smart, they will stop doing anything that could possibly be construed as taking a penalty. I think they're going to average a very low amount of penalties throughout the series, and I think that will be the difference maker because they're so good at 5-on-5 and so good defensively. I have the Jets winning this series in 7.
So I think the biggest thing when I kind of look at this series is for Winnipeg is and this is no disrespect to Colorado, they're obviously a very good team. But they live and die by their top front talent. And I don't believe, I know there was rumors and word about it. I haven't heard anything about Landeskog coming back anytime soon.
I'm pretty sure they said that he's not even close. I'm pretty sure he skated the other day and they squashed it right away and said he's not close.
Yeah, and so I really think Colorado lives and dies by their first line with Nichushkin, McKinnon, Rantanen, and obviously with Makar and Taves back there. If Winnipeg comes into this with a system, whether you go with, I assume it'd probably be someone who's really good defensive like Adam Lowry. The speed part of that scares me a bit for Winnipeg. But if Winnipeg goes in and they've got a line that's just, when McKinnon's line's out there, you're out there and you're shutting down that line. That is your guys' job. Yeah. If you don't score a goal, who gives a shit? If you only hold them to 1 goal against or 2, that's awesome. If you can shut them down, we've got a really good chance to win. And this Winnipeg team, I think, is, again, like I said, really good defensively, along with great goaltending. I think they're going to be able to shut down Colorado's top offense, which is why I also have the Winnipeg Jets in 7.
Really interesting.
I have them in 7.
I did
I'm
not
big on
expect to.
Winnipeg.
I didn't expect to be picking Winnipeg. Looking at this series, I really thought I was going to pick Colorado. I thought there was only one, maybe two teams that I would take over Colorado in the West. And the more and more I looked at it, this Winnipeg teams are really good, man. And
Very good.
they're just so solid top to bottom. They're great defensively.
And home ice advantage is huge for them.
Both goalies have been great for them too. On top of just how great Hellebuck's been. And Colorado's goaltending is not fantastic. Georgiev gets wins. He puts up serviceable goaltending, but he's never going to steal you a game.
No. Winnipeg is going to have to.
I think that's the difference.
Colorado's going to have to outscore their problems. And when you're doing it against Winnipeg, I don't think you can do that for an entire series to move on. Like, sure, they're going to be able to steal a couple games. Like, I have it going 7. But I just don't think that with, like, Winnipeg doesn't have to be elite offensively. They can just be good, and they're probably still going to put up at least 3 goals a game.
But they still are elite as well, and they don't even have to be. So I think, I think they're going to be good defensively and have enough scoring.
I'm so excited for the series. I'm very excited for Winnipeg fans who get to experience the home ice part of it, being a part of this. And I think they have a really good chance to see their team go on a good run this year. And they deserve it after just constant shit that's gone on. It's nice to see where they're at now and seeing their fans getting to enjoy, what the team's been doing for them all season long. Because they've been very good from start to finish.
Yeah. Just to add on there, this was from 3 days ago. People were asking if there was any update on Gabe Landeskog and Jared Bednar, the head coach of the
original Bedsy.
The original Bedsy, the head coach of the Colorado Avalanche, said he's not close. Nothing's really changed with him.
Yeah. So it was just kind of what I figured.
He's literally skating, but like he's not doing team practices. I don't think he's not in a no contact jersey or anything. Certainly.
Yeah.
Or he's not in a contact jersey, I suppose. He's literally just skating. It was, how long ago was it at this point? The injury, like it's like over a full year ago now, right?
Yeah. I don't think he played it all last year.
Yeah, he didn't play last year. I think it was last year, 2 years ago's off season. Yeah, he had a cartilage transplant in his right knee on May 3rd. Would that be 2022?
Yeah.
Yeah, so
it's been a rough stretch for him.
Yeah, and it's honestly hard to tell if he's even ever going to play in the league again, unfortunately. Hopefully he does. Hopefully he can make that full recovery. But man,
I think he'll be able to now that he's taken this full season to just heal and get better. And then he's got this whole, off season now where he's going to be able to get back on the ice and just start working and getting back up to speed. I think he'll be fine come the start of next season. It's kind of where I'm at, where I think it'll go with him.
Yeah, it's so scary with some of those cartilage and nerve based injuries.
It is, yeah, but they're in very good hands with the guys there. And
you've gone to school for sports, man. You definitely know more than me on this subject, but they look scary, and hopefully he can come back.
I think with where he's at now, I think he'll be okay. Obviously, it's one of those things where
would they win if they had him had him at full capacity when they won the cup? You still think
no? I would still have Winnipeg. Yeah,
I think that would be enough for me to swap it. I think it would be Colorado in 7.
It would make it more interesting, but I think I would still. And again, it really comes down to the goaltending matchup. I think it's so key here.
Yeah,
between the two sides. So we've only got 2 matchups left, the 2 Pacific ones. We are going a little bit long on time, so we can probably go through these ones a bit quicker because I think these are kind of the 2 in the West that
there's a little bit less to say on some of these.
Yeah, there's a real clear favorite. The first one we'll start out with is the Vancouver Canucks versus the Nashville Predators. Vancouver 109 points to Nashville's 99. Canucks went 3-0 in the regular season, all in regulation. Nashville turned it up late, though. They went on a heater when they needed to be in this spot now in the playoffs.
If they could have kept that heater going to the end of the season, or went on it where it's going into the playoffs, it might have been a different story, but they've come back down to earth a little bit, enough that they don't look unbeatable at the moment, and this Vancouver team looks fantastic.
And getting Demko back now healthy is huge for them.
Yeah, Demko is this year has been the second best goalie in the National Hockey League. Quinn Hughes has been the best defenseman, and for my money, in the NHL this year. JT Miller hit 103 points for the Canucks compared to Nashville's Philip Forsberg hitting 94 as the leading goal scorer. Relatively similar special teams on this one. 22.6% power play for Vancouver, 21.5% for the Preds. And then penalty kill, we got a 79% for the Canucks and a 77% for the Preds. So not too far off on either end there, both very slightly favoring the Canucks. Goals against goes for... Sorry, I was just going to finish reading these stats here. The goals against are 0.3 goals per game in favor of the Canucks. The goals for per game are 0.2 more for the Canucks. So defensively and offensively favoring the Canucks a little bit, but not massive numbers.
No, but here's the thing. I think Nashville's had a really solid season. They've already went outside of everybody's expectations by what they did in the offseason to now being in the playoffs. I think is incredible. Forsberg, probably the most underrated season out of anybody in the league this year, in my opinion. Is not getting talked about enough. Putting up 48 goals, which actually did set a Nashville Predators single season record, and 94 points. Roman Josi, 85 points, phenomenal.
Those two carried that team. They have been
good.
It's
just Vancouver's depth. And I think, especially with how good their top guys are, like guys like Pettersson and JT Miller, who are also good defensively, Nashville's a one-line team. When you look at their team, it really is O'Reilly, Nyquist, Forsberg, and then Josi on the back end is really what drives the majority of the offense for that team. And so I think, Vancouver's depth is going to be able to put up goals despite how good Nashville is and UC Saros. But they're going to be able to shut down Nashville's. Again, I think that top line is really good for Nashville. They'll probably steal them one game. But Vancouver, I think their top guys can handle Nashville's top guys. And then Vancouver's depth just rolls through. And that's both the forwards and the defense. And then obviously Vancouver's got the edge in goaltending. As Thatcher Demko has been not only great this season, but he's one of those guys that so far from what we've seen from Thatcher Demko, he's a playoff performer.
He's a gamer.
He comes alive in the playoffs. And so that is why I do have the Vancouver Canucks in 5 games. And I think this is really huge because this goes back to Kevin Bieksa was talking about it one time in their 2011 Cup run when they were playing the Nashville Predators. And I believe the Canucks won that in 6. And Vancouver had home ice. Canucks won it in 6. And the Canucks had home ice advantage, so they were up game 5 in Vancouver, and they were like, boys, we gotta win this one, because they didn't want to have to go make that big long trip all the way to Nashville again for one game to then come all the way back. It would have been so nice for them to just win and not have to make that big travel just for one more game in the series. And I think that's going to be huge for them. They don't want to travel to Nashville more times than they have to, especially how tough that building is to play in the playoffs. But I do have the Vancouver Canucks taking this in 5 games. I think Nashville can take one, but
yeah,
Vancouver's just beats them in all areas.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. Vancouver wins in 5. I think Nashville takes one of the home games. But yeah, Vancouver is very similar makeup to Colorado's team, except they've got the goaltending and they've got even a little more depth.
Vancouver's got better depth. Yeah, they've got way better depth, man.
Like
here's the thing with Nashville.
Great. They're so good.
Their brightest spot, and probably the one thing they would maybe have the edge over, like over almost every other team in the playoffs, is that number one defenseman. Roman Josi versus the other team's number one guy. Roman Josi arguably has been the second best defense in the league this year. But Vancouver's got the number one. So the one area that Nashville could maybe have the edge over the other team, Vancouver's the one team that for sure, based on this season, beats them in that area. Like, I just don't think Nashville beats Vancouver in any area.
No,
but
they really don't.
Playoffs, and with how this Nashville team just
we've
keeps
seen Nashville
fighting,
upset before.
Yeah, I just can't see Nashville
sweep on the Blackhawks,
though. I just can't see Nashville getting swept. So I do think I think they take one.
No, they're a gutsy team. I could even see them taking 2, perhaps, but I think I've got it 4-1.
So we're pretty similar on I think we've got like the same number of games on
a lot of them.
Almost all of them. The only one is I got.
You had 6 games for the Hurricanes Islanders, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've had really similar. I thought I had another point about Nashville, but
yeah, like again, I think Nashville's had a great season.
There's not much to say. It's
nothing bad about them, but it's
people love to talk about how important that number one defenseman is. That Duncan Keith, that Victor Hedman, that Roman Josi guy, and like you said, Vancouver's got one to kind of counter him. They've got that guy as well, and it's when that's your big selling point, and the other team's got that plus Miller, Pettersson, they've just got so many weapons. I see this Vancouver team doing very good.
Brock Besser put up 40 goals this year, despite all the trade rumors and whatnot.
Yeah,
he could be a huge player for them in the playoffs as well. And that means our final matchup.
Is this their third year in a row?
Third year in a row. It was the last one to be confirmed as of the very last game of the season, coming down to overtime. The Edmonton Oilers taking on the LA Kings. Edmonton finishing the season with 104 points to the LA Kings 99. And the season series, Edmonton, I believe, went 2-1-1. Let me just confirm. 3-1. They went 3-1 over the LA Kings, who went 1-2-1. Yes, I mean, third year in a row between these teams, and it's, the best player in the league, and you could argue it's top 3, top 5, wherever you want to throw Draisaitl, going up against an LA Kings team that has been playing really good defensive hockey, like very good.
Yeah. And the stats kind of show a very similar story to the Jets and Avs. The Kings have per game almost 0.5, almost half a goal less per game than the Oilers, but they're keeping the puck out of the net for about 0.3 and a half, almost 0.4 goals per game less. So they've got that defensive play, but then they're almost 4% lower on the power play compared to Edmonton, but they've got a 5% better penalty kill. So it's they've got the better penalty kill and defense, and the Oilers obviously have a better power play and goals for. So it's I mean, anyone who's watched either of these teams play this year could have told you that. McDavid ending the season with 132 points and is, of course, 100 assists.
Kind of a sloppy year for him. Kind of a down year.
Yeah.
That's nuts.
Massive dive. And Kevin Fiala, the leading scorer on the Kings, with 72 points. Um,
I mean, it really comes down to can
this could be an
Edmonton break
upset.
through on
I think this
LA's?
could be an upset year for this one.
You think so?
I think it's very possible. Um, I think if this series goes to 7 games, I think the Kings win it. But I have the Edmonton Oilers winning it in 6.
So I do have the Oilers in 6. I changed my bracket last second because I originally did have the LA Kings in 7. But I was like, man, I
You had
think the
like the
Oilers are
same
gonna.
thing I said.
I was like, man, I think the Oilers are gonna find a way to do it. But then I looked, I'm like, but again, if it goes 7, I'm picking the Kings, so I had to make it 6
Yeah.
games because that
I
was
love
my
that you
thought.
had
Is like,
that.
if it went 7, I was like, I think if the Kings win, the only way they win is in 7. But the thing is the Oilers won't win in 7 because if it goes 7, I think the Kings actually do find a way to pull it off and pull off uh, that upset.
Yeah.
But again, like this is one of those series like it doesn't matter how much you dive in deep and look at all the advanced stats. It really comes down to what Edmonton's top guys can do, what their power play can do against the great system that the LA Kings have built that has really allowed them to be a force in the later half of the season after starting off really strong, kind of going through a weird middle area, and then coming in really strong in the later half. Both these teams, actually, the Oilers and the Kings, have a new coach that they hired halfway through the season. So even though it's the same teams for the third year in a row, it's a completely different coaching matchup now, and it'll be interesting to see kind of how that dynamic plays in when we see you know potential line matchups and how the Kings plan on first of all not taking penalties because you can't give Edmonton power plays, and then 5-on-5, how do you shut down Edmonton's top guys? That's the biggest battle that the Kings are going to have because I think with their offense they can still put up some goals. It's really, can you shut down the Oilers from racking them up on you?
Yeah. Yeah. That's pretty much, yeah, there's not a ton more to say. Like it's, they don't have a world beating goalie in LA. I think it's just McDavid and his fellas are just too much to
Mm-hmm.
handle for the Kings. Yeah, Edmonton's probably got it in 6 in my mind.
Yeah, not in 7. They
I
ain't taking it in 7.
I could see them winning it in 5 or even 4 if McDavid comes out with a vengeance. I mean, what are you going to do, right? If he's
Yeah.
flying out there and he's hell bent on it, they don't have a guy on the team that could stop him.
I think the only
Very
way
few
for the
guys in the
Kings
league could.
the Kings have to take either game 1 or 2 in Edmonton. If the Kings go back home down,
Yeah,
2-rip, they're in trouble.
yeah,
The only way the
absolutely.
Kings can stand their ground in this series is they have to take games 1, 2. If they take game 1, that's massive for them. Because then if you win game 2, even better, you're up 2-0. But even if you lose, and it's like, at least it's only 1-1 at the very worst, heading back home. Because if you give Edmonton too much momentum, they will fucking beat the brakes off you. So that's going to be the biggest thing for the Kings. So that's kind of where we're at with our first round matchups. We will, once obviously, I think our plan now for the playoffs is doing 2 episodes a week.
Yeah,
One earlier in the week, like a Monday, Tuesday, and then obviously we'll stick with our regular Fridays, just because there's going to be so much action, going on in the playoffs, and we want to, keep up to date action and content with you guys. Because if we wait a whole week, so much stuff is going to go by in that span that we're going to miss stuff. So doing 2 a week, keeping them a little bit on the shorter side because there will be 2, will allow us to keep up to date with everything. So once the first round is done, we'll look at the second round matchups and make our predictions for those at that time.
yeah,
But for the sake of the brackets we made, I think we should go through now and tell everybody how we think the rest of our brackets that we have conducted together will end up going.
yeah, absolutely. And we won't actually really talk too much about these matchups because they are At the moment, hypothetical.
And there could be big implications from the first round. Like key injuries and whatnot that could maybe, affect how the matchup may go if these two teams do end up facing each other.
I still maintain we would have three-peated if Point was in against Colorado. Sorry, I love throwing that in any chance I get. Where do you want to start? We want to go back the same way we came in. We'll start with the So I guess do we both have Carolina versus Rangers?
Yeah. We don't need to say how many games though, because again, this is all hypothetical.
No, and I had Carolina moving on.
I do have the Hurricanes, yeah.
Interesting, because I went back. That was the most difficult one for me to choose. I'm still wondering about it. I can see either of those teams in a conference final easy.
That one would be a hell of a series. I think Carolina they find a way to get it done over the Rangers once again. The Rangers again, I mean, as good as their team is, they always find a way to crumble in the playoffs. And until they prove me wrong and show, hey, look at us go on this dominant run and be a beast in the playoffs, I'm not buying it. So for that reason, I'm going with Carolina.
Yeah. And
then I guess so good. I have Florida and Boston.
And I have
Tampa and Toronto. So for mine between Florida and Boston, I actually do have Florida coming out on top over the Bees.
Yeah. If that was my matchup, I would also have that for sure.
Mine is whoever wins that Tampa Florida series is in that spot. Like it doesn't matter if it's Tampa Boston, Tampa Toronto, Florida Toronto. It's either Tampa Bay or Florida's coming out of the Atlantic side of the East, I think.
Yeah, honestly, I agree with that. There's not a matchup there where I would take the Boston or Toronto team. I have Tampa Bay, of course, beating Toronto. I feel better about their chance of beating Toronto than beating Florida. So if they beat Florida and meet Toronto, I see them beating them.
Yeah, and that's my thing is like Florida's the team to beat out of those four. And so if Tampa can knock them off, Tampa's got no problem taking one of the other two. Do you want to hop over to the West or do you want to wrap up our final matchup?
Yeah, let's finish the second round. So did we both have Dallas versus Winnipeg?
Yeah.
So moving on from there, I have the Dallas Stars.
I do also have the Dallas Stars. I think this series would be phenomenal. I really hope this is what we get because after
that would be a
Dallas and Vegas, Winnipeg, Colorado, to now get Dallas and Winnipeg, I think is awesome. But I do have Dallas winning that one.
Yeah.
And then I think we both have the Canadian matchup as well. We've got Vancouver and Edmonton.
Yep. I would blame nobody for taking Edmonton, but I have Vancouver winning this one. I
have Vancouver as well.
Yeah. I find it hard to bet against Edmonton because I am convinced 100% Connor McDavid will win a Stanley Cup in his career. It is not a question of if, it is when. So if you put money on it every year, you will hit eventually.
You're bound to at some point.
But yeah. I think these other teams are catching fire right now. And I think Vancouver, they've exploded this year. I don't know how they didn't do it earlier because they had a lot of this talent for a long time. But they finally broken through. They broke that glass ceiling and they look dominant.
Yeah. And then I guess let's wrap up the West and we'll go back and finish up the East.
Yeah, because we both have Dallas versus Vancouver there.
Yeah.
In the conference
Who do you got out of these two?
I have Dallas.
I also have Dallas. I have Dallas going all the way to the Stanley Cup final.
I wanted to put Vancouver there, but
I think Vancouver's honestly
this Dallas team just looks so freaking good on paper, man.
Maybe if anyone in the West can take down Dallas, I do think Vancouver actually has the best chance out of any team.
Yeah.
I think Vancouver actually kind of does match up well against Dallas. I don't think Vancouver maybe has the same, firepower that a Winnipeg or, a Vegas has, but I think Vancouver, the system they play and the guys that they have is exactly what a team would need to beat Dallas. But I think Vancouver still comes up Just a little bit short because, again, this Dallas team is just incredibly deep from top to bottom.
Honestly, that one's almost a 50-50 for me. If anything,
it's a pick 'em.
I think I have Dallas winning because in the finals, I have Dallas versus Tampa. I have Tampa beating Carolina in the conference final. If you can't tell, this is a massive homer bracket. But that's the fun of sports.
Mine is a completely non-biased bracket. I have Carolina beating Florida, which means I would have Dallas and Carolina in the final for mine.
Makes a lot of sense having those teams there.
And I would be happy that either because I'd be happy to see either team win.
Oh, it's not an unbiased bracket. This is a Pavelski-Burns bracket.
No, this actually is a completely...
No, I mean, yeah. I had Carolina get to the conference finals and Dallas
here's the thing, though. After my first round, Dallas, Winnipeg, Vancouver, Edmonton, Florida, Boston, Rangers, Carolina. Obviously, a couple teams could interchange after the first round, but realistically, from there on out, it's like there's no wrong answer. Any bracket is valid because anyone can. It's just a lot of these teams are so competitive and so close to each other, and it's just it feels like one of those years where there's not a true favorite or favorites.
If it doesn't even feel like there's not a favorite. It feels like there's 6 favorites. It feels like there's so many teams that are the cream of the crop. They all feel so elite. It's mind-numbing to think about the amount of talent that the 5th best team in the playoffs has.
I think there's only 2 teams in the playoffs that I think have and no offense to them, a legit 0% of chance of winning the cup. Every other team actually has a case you can make for why you would have them winning the cup.
Yeah.
And those 2 teams obviously being Washington and Nashville. No disrespect to them, but realistically, I don't see either one of those teams.
I would probably squeeze the Islanders in there personally.
I would have, but it's just, again, with this team.
I get it.
They're a team that has always kind of defied expectations. It's been set before them, and not too long ago, they had some great battles with Tampa in the Eastern Final back-to-back years.
Yeah.
And that's a team that's added a Bo Horvat who has been nothing but fantastic for them. And actually did they have Sorokin as their legit starter?
I think he was the backup. I'm pretty sure.
I was gonna say, I think he was. Yeah. So, and Sorokin could maybe a little rough last year for him, but if he can turn it around, he could be a huge part for them. But so I'm assuming you have Tampa over Dallas in the finals.
I do. And just because I like repeats, I'll say it happens in 6 games again.
So I have Dallas beating Carolina. And if it is those 2 teams and I had to pick, I honestly wouldn't be surprised if this actually goes 7 games. These are 2.
Yeah.
In my opinion, I think probably actually the 2 deepest teams on both sides.
Yeah, I think so. Honestly, the more I look at it, if I didn't have Tampa, say I have Tampa losing out in the first round, I think I end up with I might have a Vancouver Florida final.
And you know what? I wouldn't even be opposed to that. I really looking as long as Vegas isn't there, I'm fine with whatever Stanley Cup final matchup we get.
Yeah, there's a lot of teams that are feel so incredibly due.
Yeah.
God, man, I can't wait. Oh, it's been too long.
I mean, tomorrow, but today when this comes out, so.
Yeah. I say I can't wait. I'm going to be so freaking nervous the second puck drop happens for the Lightning. So I am thoroughly going to enjoy that Toronto-Boston game before we have played. And then I'll start sweating.
Yeah. But I think that does cover everything we got for this episode, kind of covering round 1, low preview of the playoffs here. Like we did mention, we're going to be coming at you guys with a lot more content here. Just in terms of episodes, again, we're going to kind of, try it out for the playoffs. I think this is kind of the way we want to do it going forward, maybe, is doing it earlier in the week and then our usual Fridays. So that way we can give you guys more, more hockey talk, more content, but a little bit more digestible and keeping them to a little bit shorter time spans than what we're currently doing. But again, if you guys like what we're doing right now, feel free to let us know. You can do that through any of our socials, tagging us, sending us a message. We are on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok at SEU Hockey. And I'm sure throughout the playoffs, lots of stuff is going to start to be getting posted on there, as it's really a good time to engage with other hockey fans and talk about what's going on in the playoffs, because there's never a dull moment in the playoffs, and it's a great time for us to chat with you guys, put out stuff for you guys so we can engage with you, and maybe find some people who don't know about us and are looking for someone to talk about the playoffs with. And if this is your first time finding us, thanks for joining us, and say hi to us sometime.
Yeah, it's going to be a wild ride here. I definitely think we'll probably be putting them out on Friday at our normal time, and then probably Monday at noon, Monday morning, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Getting them out nice and early in the week. Yeah, it's gonna be so fun.
This is going to be a great time of the year. Obviously, for me, what I'm looking forward to the most is when they announce when the draft lottery is happening, because that's the only thing I'm nervous about with this season now. That's the only thing I'm focusing on.
There's a lot of fan bases that are nervous about it because Chicago's in.
Yeah.
And
then now the new dark horse, people are like, man, imagine Utah, like all those years of Arizona being the worst team are right in there, and they never move up. They always move down. But imagine now with Utah, their first time they jump up and
no. Dude, no, Bettman wouldn't let it happen. Dude, that guy loved being in Arizona. There's no way he lets that happen.
And just a disclaimer, as much as, we love to joke about the draft lottery being rigged and whatnot, like obviously we know that it isn't. Like there's a lot of lawyers and a lot of stuff in it, and if it was happening, there would be a whistleblower who would be instantly famous for doing that.
Yeah.
But we like to talk about it because it is funny that, Chicago.
You know what?
It's a generational talent after just losing.
If Chicago wins it again this year, maybe we'll have a bit more of a serious talk about it.
Because maybe
those numbers are a little wild.
Yeah, there'll be some more ammo in the tank there if Chicago does. Yeah,
a lot of the sports books in Vegas were going after NHL and Bettman last year because it was like, what was it, like 87% of bets on who's going to get the first overall pick put in through Vegas sports books were on Chicago, who had the second or third best odds, and then they won.
Best odds.
And so all the money people in Vegas were like, what the hell? How did everyone know when they
everybody
weren't the
bet
favorite?
Chicago on the joke of like, because that was already the joke going in, was like, after the whole scandal, like it was, everybody was on that same joke, and it just ended up happening.
But like that's a lot of people put the money on it.
That is an insane, that is a extremely large amount.
So if it happens again, that might
maybe we'll come back and talk about this more.
Might piss off a couple more people at the MGM over there.
Oh, I know who'll be pissed off more than them. I'll tell you that. I know someone who definitely will.
Fair enough.
But yeah, obviously, I think, because what do we got? We got the playoffs starting tomorrow here. We do have 2 games, then we got 3 on Sunday. And so it looks like every series will have at least 1 game played by the end of Monday. So maybe we'll look at putting something out on Tuesday early next week, so we can kind of talk about the early stuff we've seen from the series, and then obviously later in the week, our usual Fridays will be back, because we want to keep up to date with you guys on what's going on, and we want to make sure that all the teams that are in the playoffs we do cover, and want to give them credit.
Yeah, we want to cover all of it, and I mean there's only the 8 matchups, so it's not an insane amount. We can definitely get solid coverage on all of them.
Yeah. But again, if you guys, if there's stuff you want us to talk about the playoffs, or things you maybe noticed that you're like, hey, you guys should look at this, feel free to let us know. Again, you can reach out to us through any of our socials. We're not super active on them right now. We check them daily. And obviously with playoffs, I do think we will have a lot more content out on there.
Yeah, we're
for
definitely
you
gonna
guys.
put
So
some stuff out there.
throw a follow and join us in what's going to be a great playoffs this year.
Yep. Yeah, that's pretty much all we got for this one, right?
Yeah, that's everything. So thank you.
One other thing that is not playoffs, but it is the single piece of news we have. If you've made it this far, the Utah Yetis, the Utah Yeti name that we were talking about last episode, has been trademarked.
Yeah, you got trademarked this morning
by Ryan Smith. So
I think is huge.
Maybe I'm just saying, maybe Smith and the Utah Jazz, maybe they're fans, maybe they're listening, or maybe everyone was talking about it online.
Nah, it's got to be us. It's all about us.
It might as well be. Why wouldn't it be?
But yeah, thank you to everybody for listening. We hope you guys enjoy the playoffs as much as we are going to, and we will see you guys next week.